Do Re Mi Healthcare Blues by Hank Payne with a nod to Woody Guthrie.
A big nod to Woody. Lots of folks back east, they say, hanging out on the old Beltway, talking about a health plan to care for you and me. Well, they say it's best you take your time and tell you that you'll be just fine. Bought your vote for just $1, and here's what they'll say.
Now, buddy, just wait and take your time. I know you ain't got yours, but I got mine.
If you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, you ain't got the do-re-mi. Well, you may as well live in France or Canada,
Or Japan,
where there's health care for friends and family. This nation is the Garden of Eden, a democracy with wealth for all to see. But believe it or not, it might not be so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Now insurance giants don't tell lies, but they'll take your money in disguise, leave you with a box of paper when the bills roll in. And a public option ain't no joke when you're standing there half broke, wondering how you got there with all those other folks.
If they didn't take your cable box away, you can hear the Fox News anchor say,
if you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, you ain't got the do-re-mi. Well, you may as well move to Iraq
or Afghanistan
for all the help you're gonna see.
Well,
this nation is the Garden of Eden, a democracy with wealth for all to see. But believe it or not, it might not be so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Socialism's got a rap, but here's a line that's really crap.
They'll take away your choices and make you stand in line.
But they'll line their pockets with your pay and hope that you'll just go away. When you lose a house or home, here's what they'll say.
You're sorry, but the profits must come in.
And in.
Our relentless expectations won't give in.
If you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, you ain't got the do-re-mi. Well, you may as well just,
I don't know, stay at home.
For all the help you're gonna see. This nation is a Garden of Eden, a democracy with wealth for all to see. But believe it or not, it might not be so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. But believe it or not, it might not be so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi.